The following is a venture analysis for a publicly funded museum in Halifax, Nova Scotia, wishing to explore investing in a new educational technology program in the form of an augmented reality tour. The museum has committed to taking on the project through its corporate reporting and interpretive plans. As a publicly funded museum, the museum wishes to demonstrate due diligence prior to investing in resources and also wishes to determine the best opportunities for investment. The goals for the museum's augmented reality project include a return on investment through increased ticket sales and through improved reputation in the local market, as well as improved educational performance of learners at the museum. We will explore the museum's existing capacity and resources, the market for the museum's new project, the risks involved with the project, the options and opportunities available, and finally my recommendations on the museum's best course of action. The museum currently has a number of resources at its disposal to engage the project. The museum already has licenses for all necessary software, as well as a number of mobile devices available for the use of its visitors. The museum has the capacity to host the augmented content using its existing web server or on a new dedicated server and CMS for the exhibition itself. The museum currently does not offer free public Wi-Fi access to its visitors. The museum's greatest existing resource is its staff. The museum currently employs a number of professionals that could facilitate the project internally without necessitating the use and expense of external contractors. As this is the museum's first augmented reality project, it is anticipated that there will be some inefficiencies related to staff time that would comprise part of the initial investment. Given the combined expertise of the team, this additional time would be limited. The museum's team consists of a new media manager who would be the responsible project lead for the augmented reality tour. The methodology and design would be supported by the museum's education manager and interpretation and visitor experience manager. Content for the tour would be provided by the manager of research, historian, researcher, oral historian, and oral history researcher. The museum also has technical support in the form of an IT manager, web developer, and systems administrator. The museum also has internal communications, graphic design, and development support. Whether choosing an internal development model or an external contract, the time of many of these professionals would be required in either case. Located in Halifax, Nova Scotia, the museum has limited competition for this type of tour. Most major augmented reality museum projects in Canada are currently being explored in Ontario or British Columbia. There are currently no in-museum augmented reality installations in the Halifax area. While museums in Halifax have yet to fully adopt augmented reality, museums around the world, in the UK, Australia, and the United States in particular, are employing extensive augmented reality installations with huge success. Visitors communicate that the museums are more relevant, that they are more engaged, and that they have learned more. Museums communicate that both visitor attendance and participation have increased. Currently in Halifax, there exists only 4 relevant augmented reality projects on the market. The first project, located at the Geary Street Cemetery, uses visual markers that must be set up prior to a visit. Augmented reality tours are set up for groups and events only and are not available to regular visitors. The second project was created to mark the 100th anniversary of the sinking of the Titanic. The project remains the only project to date undertaken partly by one of Halifax's museums. The project is a geolocated GPS outdoor points of interest tour of areas of the city related to Titanic. The tour is passive, allowing participants to serendipitously discover archives and images in the real world. A third project is located in Point Pleasant Park and employs an audio tour using QR codes posted throughout the park. The tour contains only audio augmentation and requires the use of QR codes, which are not thought to be well received by audiences and are subject to vandalization. Finally, the Halifax Public Library's project involves the purchase of previously augmented books from publishers specializing in graphic augmentation, and providing these books, along with mobile devices, to its patrons. Children's information books are particularly popular. The most significant risk to the project is low participation or visitor dissatisfaction. Visitors must believe that participation is easy enough to use and rewarding enough to be worth the additional effort and learning curve. Visitors must be encouraged and rewarded for participation. Given that augmented reality is not prolific in the market as yet, visitors will not automatically know to look for the content and will need to be made aware of the tour and instructed on how to access it. Technical failures or malfunctions are always a risk with any new educational technology venture. Server failures or router failures would be the most likely problems. Wi-Fi reception within the interior of the exhibitions could also be spotty given the brick and steel construction of the building. Geolocating points of reference do not work indoors and are unreliable for very specific locations. Technical difficulties will lead to visitor frustration and complaints. If visitors are borrowing devices from the museum in order to view the content, visitor tampering or damage to the devices is an additional risk. There are 2 primary ways in which augmented reality content can be accessed, either through geolocated points of interest, sometimes called gravimetric augmented reality, or through visual recognition with or without markers. Geolocation can occur using cell phone triangulation, the phone's GPS, or RFID transmitters. RFID transmitters are the only reliable form of geolocation for indoor applications. RFIDs include an initial investment to purchase and install the additional hardware required. Visual recognition with markers includes the installation of a visual symbol that can be scanned by the mobile device's camera. Barcodes and 2D barcodes, or QR codes, are early examples of visual recognition. These are no longer recommended for augmented reality applications. Instead, other visual markers can be used, such as high-contrast stylized icons. Increasingly, however, visual recognition is improving to no longer require the use of icons. In this case, the camera is able to search a bank of uploaded images for vectors that match the image it sees through the mobile device's camera. This allows almost any image or object to be augmented directly without the need for a marker. This is ideal for a museum because it means that no disruptive symbols or markers need to be installed, and no additional cost is required. It can, however, be difficult if the object or image you wish to augment is too symmetrical. There are not enough distinctive vertices for optical recognition, or if the image does not have enough contrast, or if it is distorted by being behind highly reflective glass. An option as yet unexplored by other installations in the Halifax area is the opportunity for interactivity within augmented reality. Augmented reality applications can incorporate user feedback into the augmentation, such as reviews, voting, or even short text, as this is the case at the Attenborough Studio at the Darwin Centre, where visitors are asked to interact with an augmented reality film. Social media can also be incorporated into the augmented reality platform, as was the case with the ROM's installation for its Ultimate Dinosaurs exhibit, where you could not only see the flesh put on the bones of the dinosaur within the exhibition, but you could take a photo with the dinosaur in front of the ROM to share on Facebook. Augmented reality installations can also be gamified to engage and motivate the user, as is the case in the British Museum, where children are rewarded for finding certain statues within the exhibition that helps them follow a digital story about ancient Greece. Further still, visitors can be asked to contribute their own augmentations, as was the case in an unsanctioned art installation in the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. The visitation to the MoMA increased so much after the installation that they not only allowed it, but encouraged it. Additional opportunities also exist for revenue generation beyond that of just ticket sales. There is a high potential for corporate sponsorship or naming opportunities. This has been the case at a number of other museums that have implemented these projects both in Canada and around the world. I recommend that the museum invest in the augmented reality tour. The market currently appears to be ready for an exciting new augmented reality installation. The early examples in Halifax have shown that there is public interest and capacity. The 2011 Horizon Report predicted augmented reality's time to adoption horizon at 2 to 3 years. Slowed by frustrations with geolocation, the museum world is now reinvigorated by visual recognition improvements. The museum's project would be perfectly timed to take advantage of this trend. I further suggest that the museum use internal staff resources to reduce investment costs and to build organizational capacity for future projects. Using existing staff time will also streamline processes of editing and updating the project in the future without the need to engage another contract. I recommend the museum invest in upgrading its Wi-Fi capacity in order to be able to offer free access to all visitors. Data warnings or extra feeds will discourage broad participation and limit the types and size of content that can be used for the project. My recommendations are that the museum employ a visual recognition system without markers for its tour. This is the least disruptive method, as well as requiring the least upfront expense. It also is easier to update, and there is no possibility of vandalism to the markers, preventing the system from working. I also recommend that rather than a passive tour, the museum incorporate interactive elements either through social media, gamification, or through direct visitor augmentation. The most successful examples at other museums related to the museum's goals of reputation, return on investment, increased visitation, and increased learning have been at museums that have incorporated interactive elements.